Who would you like to play you in a biopic?
Maybe like Zoe Kravitz or Rosario Dawson.
Okay, this video might be loaded with highly controversial opinions, so be warned. I've noticed that Jade is very intentional with her branding. She makes it a point to have inclusive messaging in almost everything she does. It's kind of delightful to dissect. You can tell there's a smart mind behind it all, from the music, the videos, the photo shoots. Jade incorporates lots of different cultural elements into her artistry, which includes Black influences. Not only that, but I think she's saying something more when it comes to her Black influences. I think she's also conveying that she also has Black heritage, which is interesting to see since a few years back, I thought Jade was appropriating Black culture. Okay, so I'm just gonna run down a couple of things I've been seeing in her branding with some of the projects that she's been putting out and some of the aesthetics, and just detail what Black influences I see her incorporating into her brand. For as long as I can remember, Jade has mentioned time and time again how she was heavily influenced by Motown and Diana Ross in particular.
Diana Ross. Anyone who's a fan of yours, would be not a real fan.
No.
If they didn't know how much this woman means to you.
She's everything to me.
When she started her solo career, she finally had the room to bring these influences to the forefront. At the moment, Jade has 4 solo tracks out. The first single, Angel of My Dreams, is a very Europop interspliced with 80s power ballad, and I could be wrong, but Jade mentioned channeling Diana Ross during the slower parts of the song. The follow-up to Angel was a promo single, Midnight Cowboy. That song alluded to lots of Black creatives and artists, plus Black entertainers were used for its advertising. This was the song that made me realize, okay, Jade for sure is making a statement about the Black influences in her life. She's saying something intentional, something like, Black queer people are important. I'm heavily influenced by Black artists and Black culture, and I'm highlighting them. Jade is giving these inspirations their flowers, something I keep seeing with her future activities. From her second single, Fantasy, just from the name, I immediately thought of Mariah Carey, and I'm going to come back to her later. From the single art, what caught my eye immediately were the hoops and the extremely long nails. Obviously, these are staples in a lot of Black communities. Listen to the song, it pulls from disco, a Black dance genre. Side note, she also raps in a lot of her songs, so she definitely is influenced by hip hop as well. I know people think that she's just talking, but I think she's straight up rapping, but that's just me. Then watching the music video, her references were obvious. I saw the set, her stylized name, the Black disco dancers, and my mind thought Soul Train. Duh. Jade is taking center stage, wearing a Cher-inspired dress with big hair. I thought of Donna Summer. Even the way she sings the songs, real breathy, reminds me of Donna. That's what I initially picked up on. From the Vivo footnotes, the set design was inspired by American Bandstand, a show Soul Train was inspired by too. I think Don Cornelius wanted to make a Black version of it, which is why he created Soul Train.
The video is so fun, you know, we have that kind of American Bandstand meets Soul Train vibe with it, and then in comes the Carrie reference where I kind of get the bucket of blood poured over my head at the end, so it's still got that kind of Jade twist.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Next, I want to talk about a photo shoot Jade did for Polyester Mag. It was one of the first she's done as a soloist, clearly spelling out how inspired she was by Black culture. And this shoot was very drawing to me, partly because she wasn't trying to look conventionally attractive. It was very kind of avant-garde. But as I digress, I think the first photo I saw was this picture with Jade's hair in loose twists and grills, or a partial grill, along with some tooth gems. She was also wearing dark lip liner with a bejeweled micro top. So when I saw this, I thought, okay, she's definitely playing around with Black aesthetics. I also think it's interesting how in one of the shoots, she's literally holding up Doechie's CoverGirl issue. We see all these elements come together. It's obvious what's happening here. I think the grills were taking it a bit far, but also it was kind of weird. It was kind of off-putting because it's like, why only have one component of a grill? Just looks a little weird. Just take it off altogether. If she said with the tooth gems, I think that would have been a better choice. But anyways, I can tell that she was trying to pay homage, conveying inspiration and appropriation.
The Jade issue is here. As guest editor of Polyester, Jade chose to celebrate the women of colour that inspire her, creating a publication full of the representation she wished she had growing up.
And you're probably thinking, really, you're trying to say that she's appropriating Black culture? Like, what are you talking about? I'm not saying she's appropriating. I'm just saying there's heavy Black influences here. It's obvious what she's doing. And like I said before, like, this shoot is very inspired by it, which is great because Jade did have instances of appropriation, in my opinion, a while back, but I'll come to that later. Moving on to Jade's performances, she's only done a few so far, but I wanted to highlight the New Year's Eve Jules Holland show she did, and also mention the BBC Lounge performance she did a while back. For Holland, Jade covered Hot Stuff, a Donna Summers classic. She also sang Knock on Wood by another disco artist, Amy Stewart. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with her, but again, Jade is paying homage to black artists. The disco songs vibe well with her single Fantasy, a song she also promoted at the event. And this is random, but her man Jordan was going up for her the whole time she was singing. It was cute. Very cute. It looked like she was having lots of fun there. The other performance I wanted to talk about was her BBC Lounge Live. If I'm not mistaken, Jade did a cover of Stormzy's Backbone. She did a great job of incorporating all her influences and all her identities into the song. She's touching on black influences, picking a rap song to sing rap on like she's been doing. She's wearing a suit for the performance, highlighting her queer allyship and trying not to conform to typical gender roles. Maybe that's why she picked Backbone to cover.
Yeah,
You're
correct.
so
Yeah.
The instrumentation in her vocal deliveries gave Middle East vibes. Then in the lyrics to the song, she explicitly tells you what she's about in her inspirations. Dare I say this would be a better introduction song than Angel of My Dreams? It's catchy too. I'm glad she made the cover available for streaming. Plus she sings in Arabic. That's a mic drop moment, because if you're a fan, then you know about Jade's heritage struggles. She talked about being straight up targeted for being mixed. I think she's mentioned in interviews that her experiences of being harassed were so traumatic that she played up her whiteness while in Little Mix. Now she's upfront with it. When exploring Jade's lineage and how she integrates her black inspirations into her brand, things get interesting. The music industry often uses race to market artists to specific groups, shaping how artists promote themselves, including their music style and image. Thus, from Jade's portrayal of black influences and her integration of black culture, it seems she believes that there is some blackness within her. Inferred from how she talks about her mother.
My very, very first memory is as a little girl playing in the playground at school and everyone telling me not to stand on a crack or I might have a black baby. And I would sing and dance along, not actually realising that they were laughing and talking about people like my mum.
You've said that your mum is black, but that she wouldn't identify as black. Tell us about that.
Yeah, again, I think that is just a case of coming from somewhere where there wasn't really an understanding of race. Like, it was so funny. So last night I called my mum. I was like, oh, I'm doing this podcast called No Country for Young Women. And I was asked, like, what do you identify as? And I said, you are black. And my mum was like, am I black? Like...
Then we see her proving this further, picking out which actresses she'd love to play her in a hypothetical movie.
Who would you like to play you in a biopic?
Maybe like Zoe Kravitz or Rosario Dawson. Although I'd love to have obviously like an Arab female actress. There's not enough of them.
Zoe Kravitz and Rosario Dawson are both individuals with black mixed race heritage. Rosario is considered Afro-Latina and Zoe sees herself as mixed, being very upfront with her black background. Furthermore, Zoe has been an inspiration of Jade for a while now, come to think of it.
I really like Zoe Kravitz's makeup. She always gets like the right balance of like not looking too caked. She does a really good flicked eyeliner that I try to copy, and I like her face.
But I think Jade sees herself in Zoe, seeing herself as someone who has black heritage as well. That'd probably explain why Jade's so intentional about including the black music and highlighting black creatives into her brand. However, Jade's race is hard to understand, at least from my point of view. While her father is a white Englishman, her mother, Norma, who was Yemeni and Egyptian, has been assumed to be black, though her mother only sees herself as Arabic. While Jade describes herself as a woman of color, mixed race, and Arab, avoiding any definitive racial identifiers. And since there's no clear blueprint to outline the musical and cultural spaces Jade has chosen for someone like her, Jade has made some significant missteps, in my opinion. Back around May of 2021, Little Mix showed up at the Brits and Jade had a full head of boho braids. I was shocked. I didn't see too many people talking about it, so I decided to make a video about it to air out my grievances. Basically, I had an issue with what Jade was doing, since to my knowledge, she had never claimed to be black, so I considered her non-black and I was worried she might be influencing other non-black people into co-opting black cultural practices and aesthetics. Now I know black people do not own braids, but Jade wore a style rooted in communities outside her culture, not one associated with her Yemeni Egyptian heritage. That video was kind of spicy. I thought Jade was being disrespectful on some level and was being a little bit of a culture vulture, because that was the same year her ex-groupmate Jessie was being dragged for blackfishing. People thought Jessie was portraying herself as a racially ambiguous woman and using black men as props when she dropped her boys video. And Little Mix weighed in on the situation, condemning their ex-bandmate for her actions. Jade went on as far to comment on Jessie's situation, saying, "We," meaning Little Mix, "don't want to talk about the video, the boys' music video, or be critical, but one thing that we will clarify regarding the blackfishing situation is that Jessie was approached by the band in a very friendly, educational manner," she continued. Although Thirlwall said that she and the girls didn't want to dwell on the issue because they have so much to celebrate as a three, she did say that the blackfishing can be very problematic. Capitalizing on aspects of blackness without having to endure the daily realities of the black experience is problematic and harmful to people of color, she said. Great response, but Jade's actions raise questions for me on whether she shares those black experiences enough to wear boho braids.
It wasn't until I came to London that I sort of like knew the sort of black community. In all honesty, I'd hardly met any black people in South Shields. Yeah, which was weird. It was more like an Arab community for me.
Man, I don't know. Feel free to comment down below. I would love to hear y'all's opinions on the matter. So anyways, back then I thought Jade was being hypocritical. Also, not for nothing, I spent years following Little Mix, and Jade has always, like I said before, presented herself in one way, English and Arabic, for like 10 years. So when she randomly started to express this black side that she damn near never talked about, I was skeptical. Of course, it's possible Jade could be part black. It's also possible she discovered it late in life, but then I kept thinking, if it's true, it still makes me feel some type of way that she ran to wear braids. Like, it reminds me of those white girls who are like, I'm partially so-and-so, so I get a pass and I can wear this or I can say this. And you kind of get the feeling that they only see their minority percentage as superficially valuable. I thought back then Jade was doing the same thing, but Jade being partially black was also a hard sell for me because we still don't know if she's partially black because her mother doesn't identify herself as black at all. So what are we doing here? With a better understanding of Jade now, I think she wore those braids wanting to explore her quote-unquote blackness. However, we really don't know if she possesses any black heritage. A lot of people assume that her mother is black, suggesting that Miss Thirlwall could be Afro-Arab. If that's the case, Jade's black heritage might come from her grandmother, as her grandfather doesn't appear to be black. This would make Miss Thirlwall hypothetically a mixed Afro-Arab, and Jade's potential claim to blackness would be from her Egyptian grandmother, which seems tenuous at best to justify adopting black cultural practices like wearing grills or boho braids. I mean, it was a partial grill, but still. Furthermore, Miss Thirlwall doesn't identify as black, as I've said before.
So I was like, well, Mum, like, what would you like to call yourself? She was like, oh, well, yeah, maybe I would say that I'm brown, Arab. But she was like, I wouldn't be offended. She's like, if somebody called me black, I wouldn't disagree, but I just have never really thought of myself as black.
Though she understands how people perceive her as such. But for me, I don't feel comfortable calling her black. The situation highlights the flawed nature of race as a cultural construct. People from different groups can share the same phenotypical traits, but be from different races. For example, Samoan people may have textured hair, broad noses, and dark skin, but aren't considered black. Similarly, very dark-skinned Indians aren't classified as black. Sometimes I wonder if Jade's grandmother could be from a black sub-Saharan African ethnic group with Egyptian nationality. Alternatively, her grandmother could be intermixed with black amongst a variety of groups, not falling neatly into a racial category. Egypt, after all, has numerous cultural groups that don't conform to Western racial classifications. Maybe Jade doesn't even know since her grandmother died when her mom was young, so lineage about her grandma could be lost. I mean, I really don't know. This whole thing has made me wonder about two things. One, what it is to be mixed, to encompass so many different things and how it might conflict with how the world sees you. I think society is still very much black and white. No one really allows for much gray. I'm still working on it. Secondly, this whole thing makes me wonder what it means to be black. I don't know the exact answer, but how the world sees you, your experience, the culture you're brought up in, and heritage are defining factors for me. And I'm not trying to be the race police or the race calculator. I don't enjoy breaking down people into parts and saying, you're not black enough for so-and-so. However, I do understand we don't live in a perfect world where everyone can express themselves freely in whatever cultural way, and I've noticed from the perspective of the black community in the US, mixed people can be used as a conduit to allow the exploitation of disenfranchised groups. I'm not saying that's what Jade is doing, but it's just something that happens. Although I think Jade acknowledges that she has quote-unquote blackness, it's all speculative, I also think that she understands that she isn't black.
my identity is the descendant of many different identities. I am the descendant of African slaves. I am a descendant of indigenous peoples. I'm a descendant of Spanish colonizers. I am a descendant of all sorts of folks. That doesn't mean I'm black. That doesn't mean I'm, native. But it does mean that I can use that as I can tell the story of my ancestors. That doesn't mean that I am that.
Yeah, I think Jade understands her unique standing as a mixed person. For instance, in the BBC Backbone cover, she raps, "Uh-oh, who knows me? British, African, and a little Middle East." Yeah, Jade's situation reminds me of Mariah Carey. Mixed race as well, was promoted as white. Carey, for the most part, showcases her black identity with her music. And of course, she had kids with a black man, and she participates with a lot of black media outlets and stuff like that, but she doesn't try to look black or whatever. I'm not saying that that's what Jade is doing, but I think Jade should go down that route if she is 25% black, and I think that what she's currently doing is good. If she is black again, how she's portraying it, I think is pretty good. If she is black. Aside from the past braid incidents, she hasn't done anything to look urban. Fingers crossed she'll keep it up, because things can get complicated when someone who looks like Jade wants to showcase all her identities. Particularly her hypothetical black side, it could be trivialized. Especially with, in my opinion, how distant she is to black culture. To sum up this video, it's a ball of confusion. I can accept Jade being half Arabic and half white, but things get muddled when she tries to make her connection to blackness. Jade is someone who thinks she has black heritage, which wouldn't be a problem if it weren't for the fact that her mother disagrees with her. And from the outside looking in, we see no definitive evidence of where Jade's blackness, quote unquote, blackness comes from. It seems from my point of view that Jade looked at her mom and thought, since you look black, you must be it. People treat you like a black person after all, and that can be dangerous because, like I said before, Miss Thirlwall can be so many different things, but because she looks black, people can racialize her in a way to negate all the nuances of her heritage. Now, someone could argue that Miss Thirlwall could be considered an honorary black woman because a lot of her experiences of anti-blackness racism are shared with black women, and the world sees her as a black woman, so what then? Which, I'd understand that reasoning and we could have a conversation about it, but we can't have that conversation with Jade, because by the time we get to her, everything is speculative. If she did have that 25% black side, how does she explore that? What's the proper way to incorporate it into her brand? Does she have enough shared experiences with black people to express it in the ways we see it in pop culture? What is her proximity to blackness? Does she have the resources to know what her grandmother was? Is it anyone's place to even question her heritage at all? And aside from all that, seeing your mother look like the black inspiration you adored all your life, I can understand seeing them as your people on a certain level, but are they really your people? Question mark. As for right now, I will say Jade is moving way better than she did a few years back. The only reason why I made this video was because I was cognizant of her past cultural appropriation, mistakes, and I'm glad she's interacting with black culture in a better way. I'm not here to rag on Jade. It seems like she means well. I think she wants to add to the communities she navigates in. Like, it doesn't seem like she wants to capitalize off her identities or influences. I think she really wants to uplift, to shine a light, and maybe, like what AOC said, help tell their stories. Her type of pop stardom isn't easy to navigate. This is a straight woman who has decided to target the LGBT and represents POCs, her hometown South Shields, her mixed race Arabic heritage, a background that's rarely been showcased in the media in a good way. The closest thing to an Arabic pop star I can think of is Shakira, and being that Jade's a pop star, she has to engage with the popular musical genres out along with the aesthetics, so it's difficult to not appropriate, I guess. I don't know, I'm giving her some grace. But when missteps happen, it needs to be spoken about. I try to be respectful. If anything, that's the least that she deserves. Thanks for your time. As always, please comment, like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. Bye.